Welcome into the LMU Women's Basketball Report for January 24th. I'm Scott Erland in with head coach Crystal Evans to catch you up on the Lady Rail Splitters once again. Coach, another week, and we're still talking about the undefeated Lady Rail Splitters. The magical start to the season kind of rolls along, 17-0 now. 2 away games this past week. Really had to kind of grind out a little bit of both of them, going to Tusculum and Coker, and you end up with a 12-point win at Tusculum and a 17-point win at Coker. But how do you kind of round up and assess that week?
Well, I felt like Tusculum was a good wake-up call for us because I just felt like we played awful in the first half, and just things that normally click for us wasn't. And I felt like, again, we played hard, and I just didn't feel like we were playing very smart. And Tusculum took advantage of a lot of turnovers. We had 15 in the first half, and that's not normally like us. And just a lot of mental errors, and Tusculum was very well prepared for us and did a great job. And so luckily we came out and were focused in the second half and took care of business then. And obviously we were fortunate that we weren't down so much that we couldn't catch back up. But I was concerned about Coker's game just because. You're on the bus for 6.5 hours. It's our longest trip, and we've got a lot of girls that are pretty banged up right now. And so that bus, being on that bus, laying or sitting down or however, it's not too kind to your muscles. And so I was kind of worried about how we were going to start the game and everything. But I felt like overall, it was a hard fought game, and only complaint really I got is just that I'm not used to anybody out rebounding us, and I take a lot of pride in that. And so that was a little hard to swallow after the Coker game. But I do feel like our players played hard, and we're just each and every game finding a way to win. And I do think we've got great leadership on this team, and it makes a difference. And so again, being able to pull out 2 victories this past week was huge for us, and hopefully we can keep that momentum going into Wednesday.
Well, and what was the conversation like at halftime? Obviously, of late, most of this season we've been front runners, a team that jumps out in front of you at really never lets up from there in the first quarter. But in both of those games, after the first quarter, you're sitting there still kind of in dogfights, having pulled away, and then you're up 10 in the second half, or the halftime of the Coker game. But at the same time, what were the conversations like? Because you obviously came out with a little bit more energy and focus in the second half of both those games.
Tusculum's conversation was very short, and it basically, I just told them I was really disappointed in our lack of focus, and I remember crumpling up the stats, so I can't remember. I just remember making mention of the turnovers, and just again, it was a lot of hollering, and I just walked on out, and I guess they continued on the conversation after that, and obviously.
Something worked.
I would say it was more them talking to each other. Because a lot of times, your coach says something, and it seems, not that, I don't think they tune me out or anything like that, but I mean, sometimes your coach says something and it kind of goes in one ear and out the other, but when your teammate says it, it's totally different. And I'm glad that we've got that on this team, and I know that, they definitely were holding each other accountable once I did walk out. At least that's what I was told. And obviously it worked well for us in the second half. At Coker, it wasn't so much I didn't raise my voice or anything. It wasn't so much that. It was just, we're better than this. We're not playing to our potential right now. And, I'm just hoping that we correct it and we really, take a hold. It's when you are undefeated and, these games are coming and you're on the road and you're kind of in this just this bad part of the season where there's a lot of bumps and bruises, and it's just it seems like the season's dragging on, and they've got a lot of schoolwork and there's a lot of outside distractions and things like that. You lose focus of the fact that we are doing something special. The fact that this team right here, as far as LMU is concerned, are making history. and we're making great strides, and it's hard to sometimes see what a blessing that is, and you lose sight of that. And I was just telling them, at halftime, like, y'all, every team, to beat the team that's undefeated, that's huge, and every team's coming out with that energy. And right now, I don't feel like we're matching that energy, and I just felt like, again, these girls, they're great people, and they don't mean to do anything, selfish or lazy. I mean, they got a great work ethic, and they're just good people. And so I think when you do bring that to their attention, and they kind of grasp, you're right, I am doing that. I'm not cheering for my teammate like I used to. I'm not as excited about these games. I'm not, you're tired, okay, that's understandable. You're sore, okay, that's understandable. But you've got to get outside yourself and put your teammate before you and put this team before you. And sometimes you just got to remind people to do that. And, again, we've got a very loving team and a great chemistry, and so it wasn't hard for them to take hold of that once it was brought to their attention.
Well, and then you brought this up a little bit, but obviously, you look at the season as a full spectrum, but right now you kind of look at just this piece of the schedule where you've been on the road so often, and you're at the tail end of this now, where you're the road heavy portion of the schedule here. How proud of your team that you've gone out through all this stuff and been able to hold together. You said you're dealing with some nagging injuries, and all the travel and stuff, and you still remain undefeated through all that.
I'm terribly proud, and that's one thing too that I mentioned to the girls after Coker. I told them, I was like, I'm proud, and I want us to, just take joy in this process and not lose sight of, that this is exciting and we are winning, and because my downfall is once one game's over, like Coker, I'm thinking of Carson Newman. And it's like literally the second that buzzer sounds, I'm thinking of Carson Newman. And it's just a bad habit of mine. And so I'm trying to make myself as well as my players, all right, y'all, let's just enjoy today. Let's just enjoy, take this in. We got another victory, and you just don't want your season to pass up. And yes, it's a great season, and you're at the end of it, and say you win and everything's a blur. You don't want that. And I've gotten into a couple games here where I've been like that, and there's no. I know that same influence has to be on the players, and so I'm trying to do a better job of just slowing down and, okay, that's one game, and let's enjoy this one game before I focus on the next game. And it's, but it's hard because, it's contagious. You start winning, and that's great to be able to, win these games, but then you start, it's almost, I don't want to lose. I don't want, who's going to be the team that could potentially, beat us. I don't want, I don't want that to even be a situation. And so, it's contagious. It's just, you want to win the next game and the next game and the next game. And it just becomes a challenge. Like, okay, so we conquered that challenge. What's the next challenge? And that's great. I think that's a good way to be, to a point, but when it becomes obsessive, which I have a tendency to be, it's not, because then you lose sight of, hey, y'all, let's enjoy this. This is a process. This is a long journey. The season's long, and let's make sure that we're enjoying it along the ride.
Well, and you wouldn't be a coach if you didn't have an obsessive personality. But let's turn to page 2, that Carson Newman game. You said you had already turned your attention to that once the buzzer sounded over there in Hartsville. It seems like the challenges don't really stop for you guys. This is going to be another tough one. Carson Newman coming in here on Wednesday night. And Carson Newman playing some of its best basketball right now. And we obviously remember the overtime thriller at Jefferson City. You guys came out on top 102-99. So just, talk about what you've seen from Carson Newman lately and the challenge they're going to present.
Well, I do think that they've been playing their best basketball, but they started playing 3 of their, what I call tweeners, like a 3-4 player. And so they've changed their lineup a little bit, and obviously that we're going to have to make some adjustments for that as well. And, I think they've been doing a great job on the boards, which is something that we take pride in. And They really get out in transition. They really, they're going to shoot a ton of threes. And Kaylin Brooks is a great shooter, as well as they've got multiple. And so, you got Micah Webster, who just got the SAC Player of the Week. And, so they got a lot of different pieces. I think Brianna Smith, I've actually made comments to her multiple times to our team, just how well she's playing, how she's leading her team. She's kind of a floor general, and she's just working the ball around, getting her team really good shots. And, so we know their personnel really well, and our players know their personnel really well. And so now it's not so much focusing on Carson Newman and what they're doing. It's focusing on us and what we haven't been doing. We've made some corrections that I noticed just really studying Tusculum's game and studying Coker's game, some things that we were doing wrong. And, we've really worked hard yesterday to correct those, and we'll do the same thing in practice today. And I just feel like the more and more that we can perfect us, not that we're not focusing on Carson Newman, because we are, but, not change us to suit Carson Newman, but more importantly, perfect us. I feel like we'll be exactly where we need to be. The one thing that I am excited about is some of the excitement that I said that feels like it hasn't been there the last few games. I mean, you could throw a rival team in there, and it's excitement through the roof. And we're a better team. I mean, we have, when we have the energy, the bench is up, the girls on the floor are energized. Things just start clicking for us. And, so I feel like that's going to be there, again, just because it's a huge rival game. But, it's going to be a battle on the boards, and I hope we're ready for it.
Well, and it's the 91st all-time meeting between Carson Newman and Lincoln Memorial here, and the first time around was really an instant classic, and both teams played really well. Clean basketball, shot really well, but obviously the big difference was rebounding. Josie Harding sets a sack record for rebounds in that game. Do you think that that's probably the biggest key to the game for you guys against Carson Newman?
No, we did. If you go back and if you're totally focused on that game, our defense, we were totally out of position multiple times. And, just the fact that they were able to penetrate the paint as much as they did is unacceptable in our defense. And so, we've really been focusing on that. And, we've got quick guards that can, guard the paint and also get out to the shooters. But I felt like we had no help side whatsoever against them. And just like I said, just our defensive principles just went out the window. And so, I feel like, again, we've corrected those things, and hopefully you'll see a better job on Wednesday.
Well, and then you don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We know you're focused entirely on Carson Newman right now, but on Saturday you do head over to the Hickory, North Carolina, to start the last little bit of that road-heavy portion of the schedule here against Lenore Ryan team that's much improved, playing a lot better as well. They've won 4 straight as well, and 8-4 in conference play, so that'll be another tough challenge over there in Hickory.
Well, the one thing that I've been telling my players about these 2 games that are coming up is both of these 2 teams are better than the first time we played them. Just watching film and just really studying them. They're better teams. They're making better decisions. They're playing. Just chemistry's better. And overall, they're both on a winning streak right now. So we have to make sure that we're a better team the next time that we face them. And that's kind of been our focus here, is just, let's polish up some of the mental mistakes that we're making before we, face Carson Newman, because we need to be a better team than the first time that we faced them. And we need to be a better team against LR than the first time that we faced them. And, I'm believing, and I'm believing we will be.
Yeah, and then what have you guys really focused on? You said, obviously you haven't been – the undefeated stretch has still continued, but there's some things that you haven't been happy with in terms – it sounds like mostly the energy a little bit and the competitiveness, but what else have you really just not been happy with the last couple of weeks, wanting to work on and improve?
Well, the only thing I think our spacing in our offense is really poor, and I tell the girls all the time, we're doing a great job defending ourselves, and I guess here's the problem that we're having too, is you go down and you score 85 against Coker and you think that you're a good offensive team. And I go back and watch film, and I'm like, man, y'all, we are literally on top of each other. You might as well be holding hands with your teammate because our spacing's so bad. And, I guess, to a fan looking at us, we look like a great offensive team. But, when you actually really study just different things, like I said, spacing, and our timing was off in a lot of our plays, and it just we forced a lot of shots. I mean, we're really good at reading the defense, and if we drive and the defense collapse, finding out a shooter. Well, we did that against Coker. We drove and the defense collapsed, yet our shooters never moved. So not only were we forcing a shot, we weren't even giving that person an opportunity to have a kick out. And it's just things like that. And I don't know if you remember the first couple games of the season. I mean, that was kind of our bread and butter. We were finding the shooters and knocking out open shots. And, again, these girls, they're not selfish. They just don't realize that they've gotten into these bad habits. And it's just stuff that you got to work on daily to make sure that you're conscious of it. And I think that, we've been working on it the last few practices, and hopefully, like I said, you'll see it Wednesday night.